Hello, and welcome to our presentation, Introduction to the USF IACUC. I'm Andy Mackley, the IACUC Administrator here at USF. Today, we'll introduce you to what an IACUC is, why they were created, and what they do. This is an introductory presentation, so let's begin by defining IACUC. IACUC is an acronym for Institutional Animal Care and Use Committee. The IACUC is a statutory requirement of the Animal Welfare Act and Public Health Service policies. It is a committee of research scientists, veterinarians, and members of the community with oversight of vertebrate animal research conducted by the institution they serve. Enacted in 1966, the Animal Welfare Act is a series of laws regulating animal use activities to ensure that animals intended for use in research facilities are provided humane care and treatment. The animal welfare regulations provide more detail as to the care and use of regulated animals. The Act covers warm-blooded vertebrates except lab mice, lab rats, birds bred for research, and farm animals and horses not used in biomedical research. It requires adequate veterinary care and registers animal dealers, exhibitors, carriers, and research facilities. The Animal Welfare Act and Animal Welfare Regulations are enforced by the United States Department of Agriculture Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, or APHIS. The IACUC is a statutory requirement of the Animal Welfare Act and Public Health Service policies. It is tasked with ensuring the humane care and use of vertebrate animals in research, teaching, and testing, and with compliance with the applicable guidelines and regulations. The committee has oversight over the entire animal care and use program, including both procedures and facilities. The IACUC program provides oversight of all animal research activities at the institution. The research is monitored through the review of protocols, semi-annual facility inspections, facilitation of compliance with federal regulations and guidelines, and investigation of allegations of noncompliance. The IACUC also provides training and education and facilitates hands-on training with comparative medicine. The composition of the IACUC is defined in the Animal Welfare Act. USF has designated an institutional official, Keith Anderson, with overall responsibility for the animal program, and in accordance with USDA and PHS guidelines, he has appointed the members of the IACUC. The USF IACUC membership includes 11 regular voting members and 14 alternate members who stand in for regular voting members as needed. The IACUC is chaired by Chairperson Jay Dean and Vice Chairperson Sherry Pilon-Thomas. The committee consists of 2 laboratory animal veterinarians, 8 animal research scientists, 1 scientist with expertise in field and wildlife studies, and 1 community representative who is both a non-scientist and non-affiliated member. As required by the federal regulations, no more than 3 members are part of any one administrative unit. The IACUC is tasked with ensuring the humane care and use of vertebrate animals used in research at USF. As part of that assignment, the IACUC performs a semi-annual review of all animal facilities, including housing facilities, as well as animal facilities operated by comparative medicine, and reports those findings to the institutional official. They review all proposed animal research activities and modifications to any approved research activities. They review and investigate any animal care or animal welfare concerns and any allegations of noncompliance. The IACUC is authorized to suspend any animal research activities they see necessary. They make recommendations to the institutional official on any aspect of the animal program, facilities, or training. The 3 Rs principle was launched in the early 1960s by two English biologists, Russell and Birch, in their book, The Principle of Humane Experimental Technique. The 3 Rs stand for replacement, reduction, and refinement. Replacement alternatives refer to methods which avoid or replace the use of animals. This includes both absolute replacements, that is, replacing animals by computer models, and relative replacements, such as replacing vertebrates with animals having a lower potential for pain perception, such as some invertebrates. Reduction alternatives refer to any strategy that will result in fewer animals being used to obtain sufficient data to answer the research question, or in maximizing the information obtained per animal and thus potentially limiting or avoiding the subsequent use of additional animals without compromising animal welfare. Refinement alternatives refer to the modification of husbandry or experimental procedures to minimize pain and distress and to enhance the welfare of an animal used in science from the time it is born until its death. The IACUC has purview over any research involving live vertebrate animals. USDA regulations cover the use of some animals, including, but not limited to, non-human primates, dogs, cats, rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, pigs, sheep, goats, cattle, and horses. The PHS policy, enforced by the Office of Laboratory Animal Welfare, covers the use of reptiles, amphibians, fish, and purpose-bred rats and mice. Additionally, the PHS policy requires that field studies, research conducted on free-living wild animals in their natural habitat, also be reviewed and approved by the IACUC. The USF IACUC is responsible for reviewing all research or teaching involving live vertebrate animals conducted at USF or affiliate institutions and field studies conducted by USF or affiliate faculty and staff or that use USF funds. All proposed research with live vertebrate animals must be reviewed and approved by the IACUC prior to beginning research. And all proposed research applications must be pre-reviewed by veterinary staff before proceeding to IACUC review. The USF IACUC has two distinct processes to review and approve proposed animal research: full committee review, or FCR, and designated member review, or DMR. Full committee review takes place at a convened IACUC meeting where the application is reviewed by the entire committee and a determination is voted on by a quorum of members attending the meeting. Studies reviewed by full committee can be approved, found to require modification to secure approval, abbreviated RMSA or RMSA, or disapproved. RMSA studies either return to full committee for approval, RMSA FCR, or are designated to the primary reviewer from the meeting to confirm that the modifications were adequate for approval, also known as RMSA DMR. Only a small number of studies are reviewed by full committee. The only studies required to undergo full committee review are research or teaching applications which have not been previously approved by this committee. The majority of applications are reviewed via an expedited approval process called Designated Member Review. Designated Member Review, or DMR, is an expedited review process wherein all IACUC members are afforded 3 days to examine submitted studies. After the review period, if no member has reason to recommend the study for full committee review, it is assigned to a designated member for review and approval, where the designated member provides a determination on behalf of the entire IACUC. The designated member review may approve the study, require modification to secure approval, or recommend for full committee review. They cannot disapprove an application. Disapproval can only occur at a convened IACUC meeting. Most studies are processed via DMR, including research or teaching applications which have been previously approved by this committee, also called 3-year renewal applications, studies with animals only in pain category A applications, protocols for the study of wild animals in or from natural settings, wildlife applications, and breeding protocols, anti-serum production protocols, and animal tissue use only protocols. The IACUC meets once per month, usually on the 4th Friday of the month, but sometimes sooner due to holidays. The IACUC meeting schedule is posted on the Research Integrity and Compliance webpage under Committees and Meeting Schedules. The IACUC conducts a variety of business at the monthly meeting, which may include review and approval of IACUC applications and modifications, review of policy changes, investigation of non-compliance events, and receiving and approving reports such as semi-annual reports and VA triennial audits. Applications reviewed at meetings can be approved, approved pending modification, which we call requires modification to secure approval, or disapproved. All IACUC studies, except a very small number of Veterans Administration research protocols, are submitted and processed online through our Applications for Research Compliance System, or ARC system. Our online electronic protocol management platform, the IACUC, is located on the ARC system. In order to access the system, individuals must first register within the ARC system, and once access is granted, they can utilize the IACUC. The IACUC system is conveniently accessed online from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. While most find it easy to use, training is available for beginning users who may experience a learning curve. To register, log in, or find training, please visit the ARC homepage. In an application, the primary investigator must provide justification for the animal use, demonstrate that alternatives to animal use have been considered, provide assurance that the work is not unnecessarily duplicative, assure that the procedures to avoid or minimize discomfort, distress, and pain are used unless it is not possible and that it is well justified, that appropriate surgical techniques and euthanasia methods are described, ensure that all personnel are properly trained and certified as necessary, and that veterinarians were involved in the planning for the study, which is covered by the veterinary pre-review. All personnel working with live vertebrate animals must be properly trained. Anyone listed on an IACUC study, except as a secondary study contact, must complete all required training and receive IACUC certification before the study can be approved. Once certified, researchers are encouraged to update their profile every year and must be recertified every 6 years. Basic IACUC certification requires online and hands-on training, as well as uploading a few documents, including a CV, a personal health and risk assessment, an online training certificate, and a facility orientation certificate, or a wildlife research orientation certificate for wildlife studies. Additionally, hands-on wet lab training is required for all non-PI researchers except for wildlife researchers who receive training from the study's PI. Persons performing survival surgical procedures, physical methods of euthanasia, and working with immune-compromised animals must complete additional training. Pain categories describe the level of pain anticipated for animals in the study and must be described for each procedure in a study. At USF, we have three categories, A, B, and C. USF pain categories equate to USDA categories as follows. USF Category A equates to USDA Category C and describes a lack of or momentary pain or distress. USF Category B corresponds to USDA Category D and describes pain or distress that is alleviated, such as with anesthetic, analgesic, or euthanasia. USF Pain Category C is equivalent to USDA Category E, and it describes pain or distress that is not alleviated with the appropriate treatments. As in cases where the use of appropriate anesthetic, analgesic, or tranquilizing drugs would adversely affect the research. Studies identifying this pain category must be extensively justified. At USF, IACUC protocols can be reviewed in two ways, full committee review and designated member review. In full committee review, protocols are reviewed at a convened IACUC meeting, where a quorum of members votes on the protocol following presentation and discussion. In full committee review, a protocol can be approved, disapproved, or require modifications to secure approval. Designated member review is an expedited review process, where a protocol is assigned to one IACUC member who reviews and provides a determination on behalf of the entire IACUC. In designated member review, the designated member can approve, require modification, or send the study to full committee review. IACUC reviews can have the following determinations. Approved, where the IACUC system sends a notification to the PI that the protocol has been approved. Once the protocol is approved, that approval is valid for 3 years, pending submission of annual continuations. Requires modification to secure approval. This means that the committee had questions that need clarification before approval. If this is the case, the PI will receive a notification outlining the questions that need clarification or steps that need to be taken before approval is granted. The PI must respond in writing, and once the stipulations have been met and approved by the designated primary reviewer, the PI will then receive a final approval notification. Disapproved. If a protocol is disapproved, the IACUC will require you to submit an entirely new protocol. The IACUC will identify animal welfare concerns and provide requirements for a new submission. In addition to reviewing new protocol submissions, the IACUC is tasked with reviewing modification requests submitted for approved studies. There are two types of modifications, amendments and procedural changes. Amendments are minor modifications which can be quickly approved. The changes permitted as an amendment are specifically limited to a new or additional title, a new or additional funding source other than federal or major agency sources, a change in the certified research personnel other than the PI and surgeons, and addition of another strain of the same species without a change in procedures or an increase in animal numbers. Procedural changes can include any amendment topic mentioned above and other changes, including a change in PI or surgeons, a change to a major funding source, a change to species, or any changes to the protocol which remain within the scope of the original research hypothesis. Procedural changes are approved via the designated member review process. Written IACUC approval is required prior to implementing any changes from either an amendment or a procedural change. Next, we'll review the process for submitting a wildlife research application. All IACUC studies are created in the IACUC system, which is hosted on the Applications for Research Compliance platform. In order to be able to use the IACUC system, you must first request an ARC account by emailing the ARC Help Desk at research-arc@usf.edu and request an account. Once you are issued an account, you will log in and change your password, and you'll select your use parameters. It is very important that you select IACUC for your ARC usage in Section 1.2, or you will not be able to become IACUC certified, and any IACUC protocol you are included on will not be approved. After you have an ARC account, you can proceed with obtaining your IACUC certification. For assistance with IACUC certification, email IACUC administration at iacuc@usf.edu, and you will receive an email with detailed instructions on how to complete the certification process. When you email, be sure to state that you will be working on wildlife studies, as this will expedite the process by informing the IACUC administration staff what information you will need. To receive IACUC certification for working on a wildlife study, you will need to provide the following in your researcher profile. Upload a PDF of your CV or resume in Section 2.4. In Section 3.1, enter your animal experience. It's okay if you don't have any relevant animal experience. Indicate 0 years of experience for the species and obtain training from your PI. Section 3.2, upload your Orientation of Field and Wildlife Research staff form. Complete the form, acquire the required signatures, usually from your PI, and upload the form as a PDF. Section 3.4, complete the Health and Risk Assessment form and upload it as a PDF. Section 3.3, complete your online training, USF IACUC Laws, Regulations, Policies, and the Guide, USF Orientation. This online training is required for all researchers. Please upload your certificate of completion. And lastly, Section 3.8, a wildlife training statement. Upload a multi-species training certificate signed by your PI. Additionally, you need to identify your PI and co-investigators in Section 2.6 so that they may review your certification status. Once you have ARC access, you will be able to log in to the IACUC system and create a new study. The electronic IACUC application is a smart form which only requires you to complete relevant pages and will eliminate non-essential pages as you enter information. The IACUC Study Team Manual is an excellent resource with step-by-step instructions for creating and submitting IACUC applications and can be accessed using the included link. After you've completed the application, the PI will submit it for the required veterinary pre-review. When you receive it back from Vet Pre-Review, please address all veterinary comments. All changes must be made in the body of the protocol, not in the comment section. After the veterinary concerns are addressed, submit the study for IACUC review. There may not be any vet review concerns. If so, proceed directly with IACUC submission. Wildlife studies are reviewed via designated member review, and the determination should be received within 7 to 10 days. It may be approved outright, in which case, congratulations, you're done. However, in many cases, revisions will be required. When the determination requires modification to secure approval, abbreviated RMSA or RMSA, you will need to modify the study application as directed in the comments from the IACUC reviewer. All changes must be made in the body of the protocol, not in the comments section. You may reply to reviewer comments in the notes section, but this is not sufficient to address the concerns. After all of the reviewer's concerns are addressed, resubmit the study for IACUC review. This time the determination should be received in 3 to 5 days. Once the reviewer's concerns are adequately addressed, the study will be approved. Studies are rarely disapproved, but if your study is disapproved, you will need to create a new study and resubmit.